Our story kicks off with a boy named Takudo Era, chilling in the hospital glued to his favorite video game. But after grinding too long, my guy knocks out cold. When he wakes up, boom, he's not in the hospital anymore. Nah, he's standing in some mysterious forest, breathing fresh air for the first time in forever. Man went from bed rest to Isekai real quick. Before he can even process, a girl pops up out of nowhere, and it's none other than Atu, his favorite waifu from the game. Takudo is straight up shook. See, the game he's been no-lifing is called Eternal Nations, an empire management sim in a dark fantasy world, and somehow this dude just spawned inside it. Atu drops the bomb. She's calling him king. Takudo's over here like, yo, do I play along or nah? But Atu ain't joking. She tells him it's cool, she knows exactly who he is. Turns out Takudo wasn't just some casual player. Nah, he was the guy who cleared nightmare difficulty with the hardest civilization in the game, Minugra, the civilization of ruin. That insane strat grind? Yeah, it earned him the title of Legendary Player Takudo, #1 on the leaderboards. And get this, Atu even remembers every single thing he ever said to her in-game. Talk about NPC loyalty upgrade. But before get into more details, let me know in the comments, where are you watching from right now? And hey, don't forget to drop a like, it really helps out the channel. Takudo keeps it real with Atu. He admits that maybe the reason he always picked her as his character was because deep down, he wanted to be as strong as her. And now that they're actually face to face, man's low-key happy about it. Atu's also smiling ear to ear, like she's finally meeting her player IRL. Takudo starts wondering, yo, wait, did I die? Is this heaven? And are you the one who summoned me here? But Atu shuts that down quick. She also just popped into this place out of nowhere. And nah, this doesn't look like heaven to her. It looks like they literally spawned inside Eternal Nations. To her, it feels like a miracle. She doesn't care what this place really is. She just wants a fresh start. Atu hits him with, let's build an empire, just the two of us. Takudo's brain is still scrambled. Dude has no clue what's going on, but he's like, well, since I'm here, might as well run it back. He's ready to relive his glory days, and he's down with Atu's idea of creating a nation together. That's when Atu flips the switch and fully gets into character, swearing loyalty, vowing to serve him from now on. Takudo, of course, gets embarrassed like, bruh, don't roleplay in real life? And Atu cracks, admitting it's kinda cringe. But then, Takudo pulls a Giga-Chad move. He proudly declares that Atu is his one and only vassal, his true confidant. And even though their empire is branded the most evil in the game, he flexes that their real strength has always been in internal affairs. Both Takudo and Atu come to the same conclusion. They should stay hidden for now. To play it safe, Takudo uses emergency production to summon a long-legged bug as their first scout. The moment it appears, though, both of them recoil in disgust. Still, Takudo explains that since Minagra is a civilization built on peace while ruling over evil and ruin, they have to be strategic. Reckless exposure this early would mean instant defeat. Atu quickly catches on. That means they must avoid detection at all costs in these opening stages. Takudo agrees and orders the bug scout to gather intel on their surroundings. Atu even plays along, reminding the creature not to fail its king. The bug bolts off immediately, and she's relieved to see that it actually follows commands. Takudo nods, noting it's just like the game. He can even share the scout's vision. He lays out the numbers. They started with 200 MP. The scout alone ate up 100 MP, and building their first base will drain another 20 MP. Atu frowns, calling emergency production far too costly. Takudo admits he'd wanted to summon a warrior unit instead, but they simply don't have the mana for it yet. Atu lowers her head a little, frustrated. Normally, she'd be confident enough to handle combat herself. But starting fresh like this, her current power isn't enough. Takudo reassures her. She's a hero unit. She'll grow much stronger as they progress. But for now, her level is only 3. If a powerful enemy crosses their path too soon, their so-called empire could be wiped out instantly. Takudo couldn't help but frown. The difficulty felt much higher than he expected, and the thought weighed on him. But Atu, sensing his unease, gave him a small smile and told him to cheer up. Meanwhile, the bug scout pressed on through the undergrowth. Using its vision, Takudo got a clearer picture of their surroundings, only to be startled by what he saw. Nothing but endless trees. No wildlife, no movement at all, he muttered, unsettled. Atu tilted her head, noting that trees at least made for good cover. Still, she too found it strange. An entire forest without even a hint of life? Takudo added another concern. There wasn't any food either. That meant their scout would have to keep exploring if they hoped to survive here. Atu's expression dimmed, and she apologized softly. She felt useless in this kind of situation. But Takudo shook his head, answering firmly that her presence alone was already a huge help. That reassurance lit her face up with joy, and for the first time, Takudo caught a glimpse of her true personality. It was a side of Atu he could never quite grasp back when she was just a character on his screen. Then, suddenly, Takudo froze. Through the scout's vision, a cluster of buildings came into view. A dark elf settlement. The elves were gathered together not too far from their location. Atu's eyes widened as she processed what that meant. Dark elves weren't just some game sprite anymore, they were real, which meant this wasn't a dream. They really were in a fantasy world. Still, she breathed a slight sigh of relief. Dark elves, while leaning toward the side of evil, tended to remain neutral unless provoked. Takudo, however, didn't share her relief. His mind was racing with possibilities. Could this really be the world of eternal nations? He thought grimly. If that was true, and this land was already claimed as someone else's starting territory, it would spell disaster. Takudo's first instinct was clear. War was out of the question. We should avoid conflict at all costs, he muttered. Getting into a war now would be suicide. For us, the worst thing possible is bordering another empire. Atu, however, crossed her arms with a calm smile. You worry too much, Master. In the worst case, we can just run away. A tactical retreat is still a victory if we survive. Just as relief settled in, the scout's vision flickered. Dark elves had entered the area. Both Takudo and Atu stiffened. The forest that had been silent all this time suddenly seemed heavy with footsteps and whispers. The scene shifts, back in time, to the same group of dark elves who would later cross Takudo's path. They trudged wearily through the dense forest, every step weighed down by hunger. Their captain, Jia, scanned the endless trees with a hardened expression. His people were suffering. One of his soldiers broke the silence. Captain, perhaps it's time we leave this cursed land. Nothing grows here. We can't survive like this. Jia's hand clenched at his side. Leaving wasn't an option. We were driven from our homeland. Where else would we go? If we leave, we'll just be slaughtered by our enemies. This is the only place left to us. Another voice, softer and worried, spoke up. It was Emily, one of the younger scouts. These lands, they stretch endlessly. A sea of trees at the edge of Adraya's uncharted territory. But the old texts say this place is cursed. They say something ancient, something evil, is sealed here, and it prevents life from prospering. Jia's gaze darkened as he listened. He doubted the children among them could endure much longer. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, despair at their hearts, and yet, he refused to give in. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, drop a like, and turn on the bell so you don't miss when part 2 drops. You definitely don't want to miss what's coming next. Stay tuned, legends. This story's only getting crazier from here.